All right, shalom to the hopeful elect. First of all, I give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teach us this truth and rule well. And peace, love, and salutation and blessing unto the hopeful elect. I'm the brother Ramakim Yam from Great Millstone, Miami. And for the topic of this lesson is that we should pray for the spiritual gifts that we need to lead in these times to come. You know, the fruits of the spirit, spiritual gifts which Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has been pouring out to his men. You know, brothers have been exhibiting these attributes, fearing Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You know, faith, mercy, judgment, humility, selflessness, charity, patience, equity, you know, so forth and so on, wisdom. You know, these things you need to endure now in order to be around this body and to be, effectual in the right way in this ministry. These attributes you need, or else you will find yourself out of here. Because the Lord doesn't play about his people. He doesn't play about his temple. He doesn't play about his body. Now, we have to think about that great multitude that's going to be saved. We coming into a time of Jacob's trouble, and then you're going to have the hour of temptation, the mark of the beast. And we know that when Yahweh Shah saves the elect of Israel, even just out of Babylon, it's going to be a great multitude saved, where it says 1/3 of our people will be saved and delivered. That's a lot of people that between now and that Yahweh Shah comes, they're going to come into repenting and fearing the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. They're going to come into the body one way or another, whether it be men, women, children. We have to think about these things, and for us who have been within the ministry, especially you brothers, teaching, prophesying in the camps. You've been in the camps, like you on the front line. The Lord been making us practice these things. He's given us the fruit of the spirit, because it's gonna get on a major level how it's gonna really be needed and necessary for the times that we coming into, with people with Jake that's of the Lord's elect. It's gonna need help, guidance. They're gonna need patience. You're gonna have to deal fairly. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to have peace of mind with that patience to deal, and forgiveness and mercy and judgment, humility, selflessness, true compassion, not just thinking about yourself but thinking about others. These are things that we need to pray that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai increase in us. Because not to say that we don't have it. Because when we examine ourselves, man, those of us in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, you should be able to thank the Lord and be grateful and see the growth. But considering the levels that this ministry is about to get to, and the evils that are ahead, the troublesome times that are ahead, in which the Lord is going to guide us through, he's going to pour his spirit out upon his men to be great leaders, man. For the men, women, and children that's going to need help, that's going to need guidance. And you brothers who've been teaching within the camps, from the apostles and the elders and the camp leaders and the officers and the captains, the brothers who've been holding it down. It's safe to say, if you ask me through the spirit, that a lot of brothers going to have a lot of more people that the Lord's going to give you responsibility to oversee. You're going to have these attributes. And just pray to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai that you and the brothers around us, that we be on point in these times, man. Now, I want to start with Isaiah 32:1. It says, "Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in judgment." And who is that king that shall reign in righteousness? That is talking about Yahweh Shai. And the princes that shall rule in judgment is everybody up under him. You got Yahweh Shai first and foremost. You're going to have King David. You're going to have the rest of the apostles, because King David was Apostle Peter, if you could receive it. You're going to have the rest of the apostles, and then you're going to have the rest of the 144,000. You know, going to rule in judgment with Yahushua. But you know what? The Lord has been already putting us in that rulership training, in that God training. You know, that's why we everything that we do within the body and the ministry, you got to take it seriously, whether it be going out to camp, whether it be posting up your lessons, or whether it be how we fellowship, how we do Bible study, whether it be how we kick it with brothers and how we pitch in, or how we sacrifice, or, you know, how we willing to give a helping hand, or how you willing to help a brother eat, you know, and vice versa. These things matter. The Lord has been building us up to be judges, and the Lord only deal with humble servants as judges, man. That's who the Lord is dealing with in these days. You want to make sure that we in that mindset, because Lord going to give brothers big blessings. We talking about Isaiah 4:1 and this and that, or a lot of women going to come to you, a lot of children. You're going to have to deal. It ain't just going to be about being a horn dog or anything like that, which brothers know that. You're going to have to deal. Have patience, faith, mercy, and judgment. You're going to have to be bold, you know, equity, be fair, be selfless, have true compassion and understanding, wisdom, not being over righteous, not being under righteous. Well, Isaiah 32:2, it says, and a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as a shadow of a great rock in the weary land. Man, it's going to be no food in the stores. Esau is going to shut things down. Esau is going to get to the point where he's going to want to get physical and carnal and you know, really threaten our lives. You know, and we talk about 1/3. That's a lot of people. And you know what? The Spirit of the Lord is going to lift up a standard. And you know what? He's going to use his men. That's why it says a man shall be a hiding place from the wind, a covering from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, a shadow of a great rock in the weary land. Because the Lord is going to be with his men. He's going to give his men spiritual power. The Lord's going to do miracles for his men and for his people. But those men that he's going to set up to lead, it makes sense that it would be, you know, beginning with the men who've been preaching this word, giving your body up as a living sacrifice, showing a charity amongst the brotherhood. But it's a serious thing that we coming into. It ain't just going to be playtime. It's going to be for real, man. People, hey, man, shit finna be real. You're going to have Jake coming from situations where they done lost this or that. You're going to have Jake coming for guidance and asking questions. You can't be too, you know, you're going to have compassion and sympathy and empathy, you know. You can't be too irritable. You got to have patience. You got to have forgiveness. You got to be willing to deal. You got to be ready to serve. And through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemi Yahushua, brothers gonna pass with flying colors. I was watching a video not too long ago by the elder Mike Allah in Dallas. He said basically the same thing on a similar subject. Brothers gonna pass with flying colors. It's just something to pray about for yourself. Pray for the body. You know, you want to be on point. Matthew 20:26. I saw that verse 25. But Yahushua called them unto him and said, you know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you, but whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. You know, we have to be in that spirit of Yahushua. You know, we read Yahushua, we read of him, we read of the men who had his spirit upon them. You know, here to serve. You know, you brothers, man, shoot, man, the Lord finna send all these people who need some help, some guidance, and you them been built up in the truth. You've been built up by the word. You're going to have to cleanse them by the word. You're going to have to be great examples of the word. You're going to have temperance. You're going to have oversight, but not by constraint, which we practice these things now. That is so beautiful. We've been practicing these things. It ain't something that you could just simply snap into. We've been being built up. But this ministry is going to go to a great level. A great level. You know? Spiritual power going to be in there. It's going to happen for a brother that's compassionate. Who really care. You know? For one, you fear Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. You got to have faith that the Lord dealing with you. You're going to have that. You know? Faith, mercy, and judgment. Leave not the other undone. You're going to have all of that, man. Which we got to have that now. And in the times to come with great multitudes. You know? You have to be willing to serve. To serve, man. You know? And once Yahweh shall crack those clouds and we get beaten up into the chariot, then shoot, man, every Israelite gonna be just completely programmed. This, you know? But over here, still gonna have to deal. You know? Let's go to St. John 13 and 13. It says, you call me Master and Lord, and you say, well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. You know? And Yahweh shall wash what? He cleansed by what? With the word. You know? By teaching the word, preaching the word, giving the word, playing out the word, being a great example. Those of us who call upon the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, who've been built up in the ministry, in these camps, you know, a great millstone, you know, from Apostle Har on down, you know, the point of this whole thing is for us to be like Yahweh Shai, be conformed to his image. So if Yahweh Shai wash our feet, we ought to wash one another's, which, yes, brothers have been doing through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, with the washing of the word, but also with that care and what you willing to do for another. What you willing to sacrifice, you know, with selflessness, you know. Verse 15 says, for I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. So we have to practice what Yahweh Shai practiced, man. We got to be like Yahweh Shai. If we serving Yahweh Shai, we got to be like he was, man. That's the goal. That's him. That's the point. You know? And it says, if you know these things, happy are ye if you do them. This is a great example. It's a token that you are of Yahweh Shai, man. The Lord been building up men to be like him. Again, we read it in Isaiah 32. Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness and princes shall rule in judgment. So we got to take on his mindset, man. You know, he had compassion for the people. You know, he cared. Willing to give himself up. I mean, literally his life put on the cross. But even during his whole ministry and his whole walk, compassion for people, healing, you know, praying, you know, patience with his disciples, patience, humility. Hey, Philippians 2 and 2, it says, fulfill you my joy that you be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Right? We all got to have this mind. If we all got this mind, we can't lose. You know? And exactly, yes, again, the Lord's elect is going to have that mind. It's going to happen. Hey, it's a beautiful thing that we have here. And again, the title of this lesson, or the topic, is to pray for these spiritual gifts. Again, you know, pray for them. Not that we don't have them, but to pray for more of them. And especially that it be in play in these times to come. Because it could be situations where brothers come from one state to another, or brothers may come to your state, or you have to go to another brother's state. You don't, the way the Lord can roll it out, you never know. It could be vice versa. Well, you got to take in brothers, or you got to take in brothers and sisters, you know, or brothers got to take you in. We're going to have that same mindset of caring for one another, you know, seeing Yahweh shine one another. That's why it's important to give ourselves the reading Proverbs, reading Sirach, on how to deal with different situations in which you got to take someone in or someone take you in. What you do for someone does for you. If we have the mind of Yahweh with it, we can't lose. We won't. Verse 3, it says, let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. Right. And this is something beautiful that we have here at Great Millstone, in all sincerity, because for camps to be growing in charity and love like it does, and we all teach the same thing, and brothers give a wonderful report over and over again about how brothers are growing in the spirit. Brothers, you see it when you, with the brothers in your camp, when you talk to brothers in another camp within Great Millstone. Of course, sometimes there's issues that may arise and they get handled, you know, but brothers esteem each other better than themselves, willing to wash each other's feet, willing to do for each other. And, you know, like the scriptures say, show hospitality to one another. You know, a brother trying to get his charity in, you trying to get your charity in. You know, these things is going to be needed in the times to come. Verse 4, look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. Right, so we got our own things, but every man also on the things of others, being considerate. You know, you can't be inconsiderate when shit hit the fan and we got to make sure everybody eat. And everybody has this and everybody has enough. We're going to have to consider. We're going to have to, you know, be vigilant even of our own selves. And the fear of the Most High do that. Coupled with wisdom, coupled with, you know, just straight up compassion for others, coupled with, you know, just that mindset to serve. Coupled with knowing the freaking times that we in. You know? Every man also on the things of others, cause shoot, man, we all need some help. So if we all got that mindset to think about each other, man, we gonna win. You know what I'm saying? And that's the house of David. You know, these are things that King David, he had. And we know he was also who? Moses, if you could receive it. But all things are written for our learning. We read about Moses and Aaron. We read about, you know, King David. We read about the 12 apostles. We read about the deacons under them. You know, we read about Stephen and Steph. You know, Philip. We read these things for our learning. You know, Psalm 78 and 70. It says, he chose David also his servant and took him from the sheepfolds, from following the ewes. Because David had a history which the Lord saw that he cared for the sheep. He literally had sheep that he cared for, you know, to the point where he fought and killed lions and bears for his sheep. That's who the Lord wanted, you know, to lead his people. And you going, hey, we are being built up within these camps to be leaders. You know, that's why it's a standard when it comes to Great Millstone, man. It's through the Spirit. I certainly believe so, from Apostle Har on down. That's why it's a standard to do these lessons, because that's feeding the flock. How we handle ourselves within the ministry, the charity that has to be shown. Going out to camp, when we fellowship, brothers open up their houses. This is that. You know, we get together, we're going to cook some food. All right, brother, you're going to do this. Brother, you're going to bring this. You want to help with this? Who's going to help clean? You know, somebody sweep, somebody wash the dishes, somebody you know, on the grill. Somebody bring this, somebody bring that. Somebody pick this brother up. Yeah, these things matter, and you've been practicing these things. The Lord gonna give you more responsibility. It's gonna be a beautiful thing because that's again that spiritual power, miracles. Gonna get praise and fame, but it comes with the responsibility that we want to pray that we be on point, man. It says, verse 71, from following the ewes, that's a female sheep, great with young, he brought him to feed Jacob his people and Israel his inheritance. So he fed them according to the integrity of his heart and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. Right? So the skillfulness of his hands, and we've been practicing in this word, practicing in this truth, actually doing the word. You know, by the time the Lord gonna send people in, Isaiah 4:1, and children and all of that. You've been being built up for it. You've been showing integrity. You're gonna show integrity in that time. You know what I'm saying? Gotta pray for these attributes. Still though, pray for them. These are the things to pray for. King Solomon prayed for wisdom so he could lead the people. We gonna need this. Jake gonna need some mercy. Jake gonna need some patience, man. You gonna have to deal. And it could be heavy on ones. It is a heavy thing. You gonna have to pray to the Lord for peace of mind. Pray to the Lord that you have the peace of mind to be able to deal. Because we don't like when things ain't right, when things ain't, if things don't seem equitable, and Lord wants you to work it out. You gotta be able to take a breath and have peace of mind and patience, with charity and selflessness, with humility, judgment, wisdom, show enough fear of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and faith. And part of our faith is the Lord finna save a lot of people. He finna destroy most of our people. He finna save a lot of our people, man. So we have to have our minds, set up, man. Leviticus 19:15, you shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. Hey man, we want to be on point. We got to do this now and in the times to come. You know what I'm saying? That we judge rightly. Do what's right. What's right. It's equitable. It's fair. That's why Jake was calling out. That's why prophets was calling out in the ancient times, because Jake wasn't doing what was right. He wasn't being fair. Worried about their own belly. And that's something that we can't have and don't have amongst this body. We can't have it. You can't have that in times where, you gotta look out for people. Gotta look out for people, man. Acts 20:28 says, take heed, therefore, unto yourselves and to all the flock over which the Holy Spirit has made you overseers, to feed the church of Yahweh, which he has purchased with his own blood. Right? We take heed unto ourselves and to the flock. The Holy Spirit has made us overseers over each other, man. Ain't I my brother's keeper? To feed the church of the Most High. No iron sharpen iron. So it starts now. It starts within the body, within the ministry, and shoot, even brothers who have, women and children at home. These are examples for you and things, training for you to practice and to pray for these spiritual gifts. Patience. You need that, boy. Peace of mind. Humility. Boldness. Shoot, gotta have some firmness too in Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Wisdom. And just to deal rightly, man. Just to deal right. Proverbs 31:9. Open thy mouth. It's a time to open your mouth and say what is right and judge rightly. Open thy mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy, man. And there's other scriptures we could get to, man. But, Lord willing, that was the point, man. We coming into a time in which we should be having the foresight to know, hey, brothers, a lot of brothers gonna be put in situations where it ain't just gonna be you. It's gonna be you and other people that the Lord sent to you, because it's a lot of people gonna be saved, bruh. A lot of people gonna need some guidance. A lot of people, Yahushua had, Yahushua and the disciples, it was 5,000 that needed to be fed. All in one spot. He said, the things that I do, you shall do greater. So it's just something to pray for, that we just have the mindset to have the spiritual gifts in these times. Even if you need faith, if you is by yourself, if you thrown in a prison or these type of things, you gonna need these spiritual gifts. Pray for spiritual gifts, period. Especially more faith to the end, and strength to endure, strength of mind, peace of mind. So Lord, this is edifying. They give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace, love, and salutations to the whole elect. Kwame Yasharala, Shalom.